Woohoo! Wow, what a day it has been. Finally, I wanted this day to come. Actually, uh, the start of the new channel, Psyche Simple, and what better way to start it than actually introduce the basic concept of psychology and take into consideration the All India syllabus of CBSE. uh, Knowing that the All India syllabus of CBSE and the state board syllabus will be more or less the same. The ICSE syllabus will also be more or less the same. So it's a new initiative, and I would expect that if you are really watching this video, please, it's a humble request to start subscribing now, because it is a new channel. The subscribers, when they start coming early on, of course, I need that is a little short of motivation to actually create more content. And it would be possible if you are showing your appreciation for the work that is being done, giving genuine feedbacks for the work that is being done, and all along the way, I think I'll be able to improve. Because I have knowledge of the subject and I've pursued the subject in my graduation, I thought it fit that while I may have the general understanding of other subjects of social sciences, basic sciences, and maybe literature, this is a subject which I can say that I have slightly more than general knowledge, general understanding of the subject. My understanding of the subject evolved particularly during my graduation classes, and it's an ever evolving subject, as well as you continue to learn, you continue to understand, and actually go back to the same concept again, the same basic psychological concept again. And the moment when I was preparing this video, honestly, I realized that there were a lot of things that I had long forgotten, because sometimes I was not in touch with the subject. Other times, a lot of other things actually occupied all my attention, that when I went through these concepts all over again, I realized that some of these things were not known to me when I was actually studying the subject in graduation. So it is really heartening for me to prepare the content for you and present it to you. Let us not delay our journey towards understanding psychology a bit better. I will intend to keep the video very short. So the purpose of the first lecture will be to simply define the discipline psychology. Those of you who are in class 11, and even others who have out of interest clicked on this video and are watching this, I would suggest that the short videos that I will continue to post, please watch them in the orders they have been posted. The first one which have been posted, watch them in those orders, so that you are able to relate to what you're watching. Let's get started. Look at this mug, the image of this mug, and which says what psychology is. It says, and quite humorously, that it is a science that tells you what you already know using words you cannot understand. Now, this is a very layman understanding of the subject that I think I know a lot of psychology. You have heard people say, I know a lot of psychology, but you also heard them say that you guys have got some complex terms to define things, which we all already know. I think this is somewhat a very narrow understanding of the subject for two reasons. One, what they already know of the subject is superficial, is on the surface. Somebody who has not studied psychology has not taken a deep dive into the discipline. Secondly, I don't think we are using the words that others cannot understand. If it is a new discipline, of course, there will be unfamiliar words and many unfamiliar words. But after those words have been taught to you, you just begin to grasp the understanding of the subject. You are able to develop the fair understanding and the concept of the subject. becomes somewhat clear to you. So this definition, this idea of psychology is not actually the definition of psychology. The idea of psychology is a science that tells you what you already know using words you cannot understand. It's a very narrow idea. It's a very, very misleading idea, actually. And right at the beginning of the next slide, I don't intend to actually define the discipline. I'll define the discipline at the very end. And we'll try to attempt to come closer to the definition. We'll try to divide the components of the definition, understand the division of the components of the definition. And finally, I'll just give the sentence to you that this is how I define psychology. When I'll give that sentence to you, and because I've already covered components of that definition, being able to recall that definition, being able to memorize that definition will not be difficult. And I definitely understand that part of our learning also involves memorizing, right? But when this process of learning happens, this process of being able to retain information happens through the understanding of it, then things become fairly easy. Alrighty. My name is Chandan Pandya. You know the name of this channel, Psych is Simple. I should have actually brought this up in the initial introduction, but I'm so sorry. I'm a bit nervous, but yeah, very happy and very excited. All right, defining the period. As I said, I'll not give the definition at the very start. You will find the definition at the end of the slide. And the reason why I want you actually to go through this question carefully is tell in yes or no whether you can use these two words, mind and brain, interchangeably. Those of you who think that mind and brains can be used interchangeably can, of course, in the description box tell that why is it so. And of course, I'll reveal the answer before you do that. And those of you who think why they cannot be used interchangeably, you can also actually describe in the comment column why is it so. But the real answer to this question is no. The short answer, I should say, is no. You cannot use the word mind and brain interchangeably. Look at this picture of a brain. A brain, if you are to point out somewhere in the body, you can definitely say, hey, this is where my brain lies in the body. So brain has a physical location, right? You are pointing to someone and saying, hey, this is the outer structure of my head, and inside it lies the brain. So brain has a physical structure in the body. You can touch the brain and sense it. But you cannot do it with the mind. Mind does not have a physical location. It has no physical structure. You cannot touch and sense it. But in defining psychology, the concept of mind is really important. We'll come to that later. And in fact, we'll come to this question of why can we not use mind and brain interchangeably later? The scope of this slide is not to actually get deep, it's actually to deep dive into why we cannot use the two words interchangeably. But I started with that question because the next very important concept of defining the psychology lies in understanding what mind is. Mind is something more than the brain. Using the brain, it reveals itself. Keep that in mind. Mind is something more than the brain, and it uses brain to reveal itself. More than the brain, uses brain to reveal itself. So I've given you a simple mathematical problem of addition of two numbers. Okay, say you're adding 4 to 4. The moment I have presented the problem to you, and you look at this chap on whose head you see the 3 question marks, he heard the question. And in the second image, you see there are 3 wheels. In the process, he is processing the solution to that question. And in the third image, he is hurrah. You see a bulb light right above his head, which is being lit. Means he has got the answer to the question. A simple question of addition of two numbers was being presented. And he went through this process of hearing the question, processing, and getting the answer. He revealed a process. And mind actually comes into picture where he uses his brain to go beyond the activity of revealing what mind is. He actually engaged in a process called as problem solving. His brain actually engaged in a process called as problem solving, and that revealed the concept of mind. As we go along, we'll understand that. Look at this chap. My God. He's tying his shoelace, and after that he's about to go and board his school bus. Suppose this boy is a new hire in a school, and his parents say has arranged the school bus or school shutter, however you may like to call it, to pick him up and drop him to school, from the school and to the school. So say in the initial days, and he has this liberty that the driver will actually bring the shuttle right outside his apartment door, and the driver will blow the horn. The moment driver blows the horn, the driver also picks up his phone and calls his dad and asks his son to actually tie his shoe and come down so that he can board the bus. For a few days, when he started schooling in this new school afresh, the process continued. But after a while, when the driver comes to the door of the apartment, he blows the horn. This child doesn't have to wait for his dad to actually receive driver call, but he is prepared to go down, board the bus within seconds. So what this child essentially did is that he engaged in an act of learning, which, as we will see in the chapters to come, is a mental process, right? And because it is a mental process, the mind was involved, right? Now is the time to start understanding the definition of the word psychology. The first of your interest in psychology will be to understand how such mental processes happen. In this case, how a child who has been waiting for the phone call from the driver to actually tie his shoe, gets the instruction from his dad, ties the shoes and goes and board the bus. Over time, just hear that sound, goes and boards the bus without him waiting for his dad to tell him. He engaged in the process of learning actually. Learning is a separate mental process which you will learn as a separate chapter within class 11th. And the first interest in psychology, as I said, will be to understand how such mental processes actually happen. Keep it in mind. Mental process. Mental process. This is a very key word. This is the key word. Keep that keyword in mind. Whoa. Look at these two images. See a crowded bus, crowded depot bus, and so chock-a-block. People are standing so close by. And during these times of COVID-19, of course, you don't expect people to stand so close by. But nevertheless, this can be a usual scene in some of the cities. The city where I work and live in, Delhi, this is a very usual scene. Look at the other image. These are good friends, close friends who have boarded a bus. Of course, you don't see them sitting very close to each other, but still, you can say that they've boarded a bus, they're going for this picnic junket, and they're sitting cheek by jowl. So, in the first situation where there's depot bus, you boarded the depot bus, and you are feeling the sense of crowding there. However, in that situation, you don't feel the situation. You don't feel that sense of crowding. You're okay with your friends sitting cheek by jowl. You have your experience change in two different settings. That's what is happening here. In the first condition, you feel the negative experience of crowding. In the second situation, you do not feel the negative experience of crowding. In fact, you are okay with your friends sitting close by. Why is it so? And this is of interest in psychology. So part of what you will study in psychology is experiences of individuals and why they are different in different settings and not similar for you and say your friend. The keyword, remember, is experiences. The first keyword, remember, was mental process. The second keyword, remember, is experiences. In the first scenario, we understood how a child who is newly admitted to school was able to board the school bus without having his dad to tell him. Over time, he acquired the learning and is able to do that. Initially, this was not the case. Initially, he was waiting for the school horn, for the bus with the shuttle horn to be blown. The driver to call the dad. Dad telling him, hey, go and board the bus. He tying the shoes and doing it. Over time it changed. Engaged in a process of learning, and the learning is actually a mental process. The first keyword is mental process. Second, two different settings. One is a crowded depot bus. People are standing chock-a-block. You experience the negative impact of crowding. Second situation, people are standing, sitting cheek by jowl. They are your friends, they're going for a picnic. You're okay with them sitting close by. Your experiences in different settings. The keyword is experiences. You have heard the two keywords which will be used to define psychology, define the P word. Whoa, third, behaviors. Wow. You see this dad cuddling a baby. This is dad loud. And in the second image, you see this ghost actually, who has tightened his grip on this dreaded guy, this terrified, this guy who is so full of fear that he says that, I fear if you love me. Wow. What's behavior? And of course, you must have understood it by now. This is the third key word. You saw the dad, you saw the child, dad is cuddling the child. And in fact, forget about that. You see a child, baby, the first reaction will be the reaction of affection towards the baby. You want to cuddle the baby, you want to hold the baby, you want to shower love towards the baby. The second behavior, in response to seeing a ghost, will be to run away. And of course, if that ghost has come close to you and actually tightened its grip over you, you will beg for mercy. You will say, hey, come on, leave me and then just free me so that I can get away. In the first situation, the reaction to cuddle the child or show your affection is a positive behavior. The second situation, where you are terrified at the sight of someone who looks and invokes the feeling of fear and discomfort, is a very spontaneous behavior. So, the two keywords you remember, that other than you studying this mental process and experiences, your behavior, your response to a situation. Behavior is what? Simply you define it, response to a situation. Experiences is already being defined, mental process is already being told. The scope of psychologists, other than understanding and studying the mental process and experiences of individuals, is also understand how they behave in different circumstances. And you saw the two circumstances that I just defined. Somebody cuddling the baby and showing affection, and the other is actually thinking of running away from the sight of a ghost and being held hostage by the ghost. I think we're now in a situation to actually define this P word, psychology. This definition is very important. I understand, and at the start of the video I said that part of your learning also involves remembering the concept. But because you understand to some extent what mental process is, and I've explained it through your definition, you understand to some extent what experiences I've shown you through an example, and of course to some extent what behavior is. you're now in a situation to put to word the definition of the subject, the definition of the discipline. Psychology is a science. It's really important to emphasize that it is a science which studies mental processes, experiences, and behaviors in different contexts. And it is okay if you're memorizing this definition, because you have been able to come and to be able to reveal this definition by now. So what is psychology? The moment somebody asks you, can say that it is science which studies mental processes, experiences, and behaviors in different contexts. And you are done. And of course, why do we call psychology a science? This is something which we'll see in the next class. So at the end of this, I am also able to tell you the scope of why psychology is being called a science. Really grateful for you being so patient, and I will soon come up with the next video. Thank you.